Hey everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Co-Creating with AI. This is the episode where we talk about agents and agentic AI. How are you today, Rasmus?
I'm good. A little bit tired. It's like midsummer soon this week, and I don't know why, but in Sweden, everything needs to happen before midsummer. Because after midsummer, it's summer, and, and nothing happens. Not
and
really, but
and
almost like that.
yeah, everybody has the perception that everyone else shuts down after midsummer, so you have to do everything before, and then you
That's
shut
actually
down after.
true, but no
Yeah,
one actually shuts down after
no,
midsummer.
uh,
There's still at least 2 weeks for everyone,
yes.
but almost everyone at least 2 weeks, 2 more weeks. Yeah. Anyhow, how are
Um,
you?
I'm good as well, enjoying the summer weather, and I did. I started push pull leg division zoning at the gym instead of just like top and bottom that I did, which I did before, and that makes me a lot more sore afterwards in the muscles. So I guess that's a good thing. I would like a rewarding feeling to be like have more pump, I guess.
Rewarding feeling of feeling your muscles breaking down metabolically, and
Yeah.
then building up, of course.
Yes. So we're going to talk about agent technology. Why are agents a thing?
Yeah, I mean, good question. I mean, I think that's the goal, right? That's how we envision AI. I mean, we talked about that a lot, like I think a year ago when we started the pod.
But
But,
then I need to ask this instead. What are agents?
all right, okay, let's do that. I mean, there are starting to become more formal definitions, but I'd say the one I like is where you have an AI model that, in some shape or form, is able to not only respond to one prompt or one instruction, but recursively work or like work, plan, use tools, iterate on what it's done, and it's not completely pre-decided what it's going to do. So it actually gets like some kind of autonomy to act within,
Mm.
and usually then the initial start of that is some kind of goal, one or
Mm.
several goals, and then it has tools, it has maybe sub agents, it has some different types of capabilities, planning, reflection,
Mm.
etc., to sort of accomplish those goals. But it's really building on top of it. It's usually quite simple, actually, quite simple from a code perspective, elements on top of, or using
Mm.
AI as the engine to sort of perform each step.
And
That's how I would say. How do
yeah,
you describe it?
yeah. So for me, and looking at the all the agent frameworks that have popped up so far this year, really the collaboration between agents is key. Like
Yeah.
you have these AI entities and they collaborate towards the overall goal. That's sort of my view of what makes them agents and not just like a any kind of AI software.
Okay, so you think like one, it's not basically it's an impossibility to have one agent, like or
Almost like not a impossibility, but more like than that at that point it sort of just blends into AI software in general. Um,
right.
yeah.
Okay. So can you, like, from your perspective, like, so these frameworks,
Mm.
the one I'm hearing more and more about all the time, but haven't really read up on properly, is Crew AI. Have
Yeah.
you checked that out?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Crew AI is one of the two biggest one. The other one is Microsoft's Autogen, and so those are the biggest two ones. And then there are smaller ones. I listened to a talk by a Salesforce R&D manager who talked about their agent framework. And after looking at it, it's just a lightweight like Python project that they released as this like Salesforce agent framework. And basically, it's a lot of the agent frameworks are pretty lightweight. They might be pulling in LangChain or other frameworks for running the AI, but like agent the agent architecture is kind of a simple concept. You can build a very, very lean agent framework, because it's more about like running AI agents and allowing them to talk to each other and have like you said, have access to tools and in some cases memory. Like Microsoft Autogen have an a memory extension that you can plug into, enable on any of the agents that you deploy into your architecture.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, on that point, so we're starting to build agents in Multiply now, which
Mm.
is why I'm like listening a lot to it, and we'll give some tips for the listeners as well. I think after this, or I can do it right now. But it's if you haven't already on YouTube, there are a bunch of like talks, or at least two that I've listened to from a Sequoia event like a month ago, where Andrew Ng and then the founder of LangChain, who I can't remember the name, has one talk each about agents and how they're built and how they
Mm.
work. And I think those are really like short and nice and really got to the point. And my realization after that, and as part of us in Multiply working on it, is like to set up a system where you can set up different types of agents, and then that they can iterate on the same objective,
Mm.
is not. I mean, of course, you need a system that supports it, but it's almost like the main like it's not that complex. It's not like 1,000 lines of code. It's more like finding a simple way for them to communicate and collaborate, and especially keeping the human in the loop, which is what we're focusing on. Or what is that also your sense like that?
Yeah. And it makes there are a couple of aspects that make them attractive. Which one is that it makes the AI software composable. That you can create these different agents: one memory agent, one web research agent, one reasoning agent, and maybe one like goal-driven task keeper, and then you can compose them when solving a new problem. You can take what you learned from building those individual agents in the past, and you can compose them in a new pattern with a new task to achieve something else than what they were purpose built for. But they were built like you had an idea of how to make them reusable, or you kept that in mind, and when you first set them up, so then you can reuse them for new tasks.
Yeah, I mean that's actually like very close to why we're moving to like a more agentic structure now. So what we've done previously, I mean, Multiply, as probably many of you know, like it's basically you can set up these processes that you can do together with other people and with AI, right? And then you can, easily collaborate. Um, and the way we did or we are doing the AI Gen now, is basically taking all, the relevant data in your process and putting that in like a nice prompt construction. So, for example, if you want to generate a specific brand voice, that's fed in. If you wanted to pay attention to some specific part of the data set, that's fed in. If you want to write in a certain language, that's fed in. And of course, the actual objective of whatever part of the process, say, do competitor research, that's of course fed in.
Mm.
And then there's a lot of different instructions. So it's like it's like an agent, but it's like a mega agent that takes into account a lot of different things. And or at least sense now, and I'd love to get your input on this actually, is that we will get much more reliable results by splitting that up into different agents. You have a research agent, you have a first draft agent, you have a planning agent, you have a first draft agent, you have a brand voice agent that actually rewrites the first
Mm.
first draft in the brand voice. Then maybe you have a legal agent that checks that, okay, this is legally correct, say for one of our customers that's a bank,
Mm.
etc. And then the thesis, at least, that we're going by is that if you have fewer instructions and less data in a specific LLM request,
Mm.
then you're going to get more accurate and reliable results, like more close to what you do than if you have many different instructions and a larger data set in the same kind of request and call. And that there's not really that much added cost nor latency by splitting up the data and the instructions in like multiple requests to the relevant
Mm.
LLMs.
Yeah.
Is that your sense as well, or do you have any like experience there?
Yeah, yeah. So there's two sides to that coin. One side is that one of the basic premises is that it's much easier when with an agentic approach to set up these workflows, as you say, where you have one agent produce a result, another agent do quality checking, and then looping back if better quality is needed. But the other side of the coin is that if the quality check is not good enough and that maybe there's some factual errors creeping in, or like some vague notion of a semantic shift like away from the actual reality, then further down the line other agents are going to trust that input. So the current, like the largest problem or challenge that is still sort of to be solved with agents is that um, that exact problem that when one AI is off target, like hallucinates or get a fact wrong, and it's not caught in the agent structure, that error, so they get away with that, then the other agents are going to trust it. And after a while, once you like after that happens many times, like that, you get a compounding error effect. It's because you basically remove
Yeah,
the human from the loop. So now the agents need to be perfect, and perfection is very, very challenging. So
that's really interesting. It's like
yeah,
I'm not sure what it's called in English, but it's in Swedish called the whisper game, right?
exactly.
It's
Yes.
like you say
Yeah.
you're in a circle
Yeah.
as a child, you say something, and then you're going to try to
Hmm.
say it around, and it really transforms.
Yeah. So that's sort of the challenge. Like
Okay.
you get
Mhm.
a really nice way of breaking down a problem. Basically, you just think about, okay, what kind of AI entities should be able to solve this problem, and then you ask them, solve this problem and let me know how it goes. And then you look at how they try to break it down and what they try to do, and then you tweak and shift. So if you do that, then you can start to produce robust results. If you like, the human is not completely out of the loop, it's just like taking a step back and let the agents do their thing. And then you can have a more robust um, um, result.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, so actually, I think the human in the loop part is something that I'm starting to, or have started to during the last few months, appreciate more and more.
Hmm.
Is that the basic solutions to AIs being probabilistic, same as actually people being probabilistic,
Yeah.
like in the sense that I could say whatever right now. It's not
Mm.
necessarily, based on all the facts that are available to me.
Mm.
Is teamwork. So it's human in
Yeah.
the loop, so to
Yes.
say.
Mm.
That's the solution.
Yeah.
Which means that like our real goal is like we want to keep the human in the loop always, and that's a feature, not a bug.
Mm.
So I really think that people who look to generative AI for automation will generally be less successful than that look at acceleration
Mm.
of human creativity is our point, of course, but we're
Mm.
strategy, but like any type of human endeavor, like so keeping us in the loop or is necessary
Yeah.
actually. And then I'm not sure if like given that I'm not sure hallucination is that big of a problem.
Mm.
Um, it's a little bit like yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I'm a manager and someone comes to me with something, I'm actually going to ask questions about it. Like,
Yeah.
are you sure about this? Where did you get this from?
Yeah.
Etc. And then,
And
of course, the product can more and more answer those questions up
mm.
front, which is great with sources, etc. But I think that's a very natural way for us to work,
Yeah.
actually.
I think basically that hallucination as a term is a bit off. That hallucination is what we call it when we ask for facts or reasoning, but what we get back is creativity. Then we call it hallucinations. But when we ask for creativity and we get creativity, like we ask the
Yeah,
AI to come up with a storyline or write a poem, or then we don't call it hallucination. We're happy if the result is creative, and the AI is not going to know the difference. Like if we act we've asked like who won the football cup of 1988, then if it doesn't know the answer, it's going to be creative rather than
Yeah.
admitting it doesn't
Yeah.
know, and then we call it a hallucination, but it's just being creative. So that's why I think that AI using AI is easier in everything that is creative, because
Yeah.
like hallucinations is something that we are actually looking for. We want to see something that it is outside of the box and that makes us surprised.
Yeah, I agree. What I will say though is I think also, so I agree with what you said, and adding to it, I think that hallucination is almost like a remnant from people using ChatGPT to provide the truth. So they're
Mm.
without any specific knowledge
Yeah.
pointed to. They're saying, "Hey, ChatGPT, how do I have a sore throat. How do I cure it?"
Mm.
And then it might, make up whatever.
Yeah.
But if I provide, "Hey, ChatGPT, here are the top 10 articles on curing a sore throat. What are the best ways for me
Mm.
as
Yeah.
a 35-year-old male?" It's gonna use that data. Like
Mm.
we have so much like, and we do this a lot in like our system, right? In Multiply. So a client comes in with like this amazing amount of data, and then they have this process where they want to extract different things. Da, da, da. If you click generate and then regenerate, it doesn't change the numbers. It extracts the
Mm.
exact same, growth targets and
Yeah.
market sizes, etc. You can click comment. It never makes that up. What
No.
it does do is if you don't instruct it clearly, and it might make up something that's not in the data. But that's also relatively easy to fix by just
Yeah.
instructing the AI.
Mm.
Don't make up shit,
Yeah.
in better words, right?
Mm.
So I'm actually like I don't know. I think it's more like an early hallucination is more of a like us using the
Mm.
base models wrong
Mm.
than it is like an actual problem in many ways.
And
I don't know if
also,
that makes sense.
what you just described is one of the simplest ways to detect hallucinations. That you just rerun the prompt 3 times, and the parts that don't change are built on facts, and the part that are changing are that's where the AI has been creative, and then it's up to the human to decide if that creativity is wanted or not.
That's such a nice UX idea, by the way. I'm going to take
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
In the sense that, because especially now with I'm going to get into that as well, but like
Mm.
with the faster frameworks, like faster options coming up with like Grok, etc. Like if you can rerun like each prompt number of times and just visualize
Hmm.
which are the parts that you should maybe pay extra attention to, because
Yeah.
here it might be more creative. That's really good UX idea, I think.
Mm. And also maybe a clue for an agentic framework. Like if you have a checking agent, then that could be a useful data to the fact checking agent. Like uh,
Yeah, yeah,
these are the ones that are changing with each regeneration. Can you please check them more thoroughly, or if they are facts rather than like a creative report of something, and then maybe they shouldn't be changing. If it's like the year of something shouldn't change with each generation, or the the revenue of a company shouldn't change when you regenerate.
yeah. I mean, definitely, if you're going to
Mm.
generate like an annual report or whatever, which
Yeah.
which is something we're actually looking at.
Yeah.
Um, and it's interesting because I haven't heard or thought of this one before. But what I've heard about, like especially people like other podcasters doing is, who are AI power users, they have like Claude, Gemini,
Yes.
ChatGPT, etc., Perplexity, and they paste in the same question, and see if are these correct, like are they the
Hmm.
same, and then they get a higher level of conviction in the answer.
Mm.
Um, which is something where we've already thought of like implementing, so you can just have like, and then you get the different ones, but that visualizing that comparison both across iterations and across models might be really valuable. And as costs drop and as speed goes up, that's something users can afford in both time and money
Mm.
to do. um yeah, I mean that's really like I think that's a very good like visual way of like telling the user where to pay attention,
Hmm.
like in terms of when you're working with AI,
Yeah.
the human to pay attention. so to
And
say.
in the UA, in Multiply, you can like color code the background of the text or something, like
Yeah,
mark
exactly.
blocks that are changing, and like it can be a creativity score or something. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
And I think like one interesting point that I don't remember if it was Andrew Ng or the LangChain founder brought up in one of these talks I mentioned is now if we're assuming that speed is going towards where Grok what the Grok can with the Q can
yeah,
offer.
mm-hmm.
Um, so if you have an agentic, say Llama 3, let's say that's not as good as GPT-4. I mean,
Mm.
that's probably debatable, but let's say. Um, but if you put in like an agentic framework or Llama 3, what at least Andrew Ng argues is that it actually catches up to may even beat GPT-4 in a non-agentic framework. And then if you can have but it takes more time, it's more of like an iterative
Mm.
process, it's more prompting, it's more tokens.
Mm.
But if you can have a lower cost and a much higher speed using, say, Llama 3, an open source model via Grok, then you can actually run these iterations like hyper fast because Grok is like 10 times faster than
Yeah,
GPT-4.
yeah,
So I really think there's something there
mm.
where this might be the answer to the thinking fast and slow thing.
Mm.
That you'd rather have a less smart model thinking slowly
Mm.
about something in an agentic way with an agent framework than you'd have a smarter model giving you the first answer,
Mm.
like whatever comes to mind. You know, it's like a hyper smart person just like whatever mansplaining it to
yeah.
you. This is good.
And you could also basically set up like the more expensive LLM like GPT-4 with checking the end result of a longer process. So because checking if something is correct is fundamentally easier and more reliable than coming up with the solution in the first place. So for many problems that's the case, that it's much easier to check afterwards when you have the solution, is it the correct one. So
Yeah.
that also means that you can have the smaller LLMs iterate a lot, and maybe they are calling tools, doing web research, summarizing articles, extracting information, and then once they have the final result, let's say it's the abstract of the annual report, like the introduction or something that summarizes everything, then you can ask GPT-4 like, does this make sense? Like a general that's something I use a lot when coding with an AI. Like after I completed a code block like tediously over 20 minutes, maybe I ask the AI like, does this make sense? And then
Mm.
and then that as a general question, like I also ask, is this correct? And it's a tweak. Like with that question, it will focus more on the and like the syntax of the code. Does it make sense? It looks then when I ask that, it looks more at the algorithms, and like is it the right method applied to the problem that we're solving. And the same goes for any kind of problem that a smart LLM can be brought in once the smaller boys have come up with like a draft of a solution.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it's actually quite similar to like a company structure, right?
Yeah.
Like how processes are done and then aggregated
Mm.
up, and then kind of the boss takes a look at the final distilled result of that work and has an
Mm.
opinion on it normally.
Mm.
Um, and from your end, like how are you? I know you're quite focused on UI right now, but is there any way you're like actively like building for or thinking about or working with kind of an agentic framework now
Yeah. So
in your in
so
Kindship?
yeah. So that comes in two different ways. One is that uh, with Kindship, we're building towards autonomous AI, like as autonomous as possible, and that requires a lot of robustness. So when um, when we um, when I use agentic frameworks, like so far that it's not like become part of a solution that we uh, have deployed, but um, I I've explored it like since it just this modularity and composability is such an attractive feature. I really think that robust processes are key to uh, autonomy for AI, and setting up agentic, like using agents or an agent framework is a really great way to just have a process, or rather like a sandbox where you can implement different kinds of processes, and like agents can talk to each other different ways. But there's also one other aspect of it, which is like, if you think about our human brain, our human consciousness, one way to look at what human consciousness is that you actually have these kind of modules. There are maybe 50 or 75 different functions in the brain that produce our intelligence, and one of them is memory, and or rather there are maybe 7 or 10 different kinds of memory: episodic memory, and geographic, like location based memory, and short term and long term memory, and so on. But and then we have ethics and morals, and we have task based reasoning and prioritization, and we have like all of these like low level functions in the brain. And when I think about how to make an AI autonomous and as a like able to work with other humans, like modeling it after the human brain becomes like one way to think about that. Not that um, we have to like that necessarily ends up with the best way, but it's at least an inspiration.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think I mentioned it in the previous episode. Had a visit from a friend of mine who's a neuroscientist and aspiring AI entrepreneur, and who's been specialized in like memory and decision making. And yeah, I mean, it really like my I wouldn't put words in his mouth, but my view is that there's like definitely going to be so many things we pull from biology or from
Yeah.
neurology into this world. I mean, Transformers is a good example of that, in my opinion. Basically, artificial neurons.
Mm.
But from your end, then, when you say going towards autonomy,
Yeah.
do you think about it as not human in the loop? While I mean, or is it, or at least not human in the loop? Like having a robust way where you can feel that the AI can be autonomous in a productive way,
Mm.
and then sort of interact with the human, so to say. Or what's your do you have any
Yes.
thoughts around that?
Well, you can see it as a journey where we start with ChatGPT, and we end up with autonomous AI, where basically like the first milestone is work going on with me without me prompting the AI.
Yeah,
But then to to perhaps like turn it around and have the AI come to me with new results, or to me with questions about like how should I think about this, or what year was that, like to ask for facts that go like as input into the work that is ongoing. And so it's really um, more of a maybe in the beginning more of a UI shift, that the AI will prompt me rather than me prompting the AI, but also um, just to have like where the end goal is for me to be more hands off. Maybe that's not something that can be achieved from the start, but for simple tasks like checking if an article is relevant for me to read or something, and and then pinging me about it rather than me like finding it and then inputting into the AI, into ChatGPT. Um, that's how I think about just autonomy as a paradigm that is a bit different from how most AI services function right now.
I think that's really like that's a very simple and nice frame for you to have in there. It's not like just that. Hey, this is a model where it always speaks first, almost.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it like, of course, maybe not limited to that, but it always, so to say, comes up with something for you.
Mm,
And I think that's almost an analogy to something a friend like Rasmus who was here on the pod one time, a really good product manager, said is like he believes a lot in proactive
mm,
workflows where
mm,
it has already drafted your emails for you. You don't have to ask it to draft your emails. And I think this is like on a just basic AI level, it's
mm.
really it's really interesting. Just like, okay, hey, I want to get it to provide value without asking first. I think that's a
Yes.
very nice frame you've got there for
Hmm.
building something. Something valuable.
I think so too. Yeah, and
Uh,
it's just an exciting prospect to have, and it means that I can disconnect more from screen and keyboard, which is my ultimate goal, and be more independent and like spend more time with humans rather than with more time with machines.
which is funny since you love coding. It's like
Yeah, but like it's all in like what the end goal is. Like I would never want to have as a goal to spend less time with people, and in the end that's where we are actually the most happy and have the most meaningful time when we spend time with other people and be creative with them.
yeah, I agree. Good note to end on, I think.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Martin. This has been really really fun and a really really nice perspective shifts for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Rasmus.
And thanks to the listener for staying with us today. And I'll do the ending today.
Yeah.
And if you have any suggestions for future topics or someone we should bring on as a guest, we're going to start. We've said that for a while, but we are going to get going with the guests and put more effort into that. Then give us a shout at Rasmus@multiply.co or Martin@multiply.co, because I don't know your kindship email yet. So we'll go
It's
with that
just
now.
Martin at kindship.ai.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay,
Awesome.
thanks a lot.
Thank you.